Friends, I have seen such fantastic videos over the years about people's journaling ecosystems. I've seen morning pages, Hobonichi, Traveler's Journal, journal like a Renaissance philosopher. And honestly, I don't think that there's any right or wrong. It's very much about what is your lifestyle and what do you hope to gain from the process of journaling. So I'm just going to show you my journaling ecosystem, why I do what I do, and hopefully you can gain something out of that. Okay, I'm gonna flip the camera right now. This is everything, so it's quite a stack. But I'll just walk you through the process, and you'll understand why there's just so much of shit here. So the the first one is this stunning one that I got from Bargain Books, and it's got a flap at the back where you can stick some of your whatever your musings. This I kind of thought of it as like a travel slash career journal. So in the beginning of it, it talks about the visas and those requirements and the what do they call it, like scarce skills. So again, this is just if I were to move abroad, under what circumstances would I do that, which countries would I travel to, because I'm just someone who doesn't really believe in traveling, looking at the Eiffel Tower, snapping a picture, and then that's it. I believe travel to be something that can change your mindset. It's something where I would want to immerse myself in the culture a lot more, learn the language, be intentional, work, contribute to that society, whether that's through volunteering or work or TEFL or whatever it is. So I've just done my research in this, and I've also researched like the various law firms, and yeah, it's sort of travel slash career. So that's kind of the purpose of this journal. And I only use it to do that. So this journal I've been using for a couple of years as I've compiled research. This next one is the Shadow Growth Journal. So this is by Piccadilly, and it's based on shadow work, which is Carl Jung, and it's got various prompts in there that you can fill out and sort of infographics. And then there's a page where it's like a 30-day challenge. So I take that and put it into my other journal where I've obviously got a lot more space. And I just really enjoy it. So it tells you about the background of shadow work, what is the purpose, what do you hope to, you can journal about what you hope to gain from it. Obviously I've like filled it in, but I don't want you to see my answers because shadow work is a very personal thing. So if you decide to go on this journey, your answers are going to be completely different from mine. And yeah, Jungian shadow work, I can do more videos on that, but I think there might be people with better qualifications than me to do that. But yeah, anyway, if you want to talk about my experience, I can go into a bit more depth. This next one I've kind of abandoned because, so this was like my Buddhist journal. So just spiritual growth and things like that. So Buddhism for me and my experience with it is that Buddha Shakyamuni is not a god, so it's not really a religion. Therefore, it doesn't cancel out any other religious practices that you may have or spiritual practices. Buddhism does not necessarily have to be heavy in ritual, it doesn't have to be time consuming. Buddha Shakyamuni just said, look, these are the teachings. Make of it what you will. I'm not an authoritarian ruler. I'm not going to tell you what to do. If this works for you, great. If it doesn't, great. But he also used skillful means. Some people needed teaching A and another person needed teaching B. There's no contradiction within the teachings. It's just that different people on different paths need different things. So yeah, I started journaling on this, but why I sort of abandoned it is because I was with the Kadampa Meditation Center and their delivery of the teachings. However, I found a lot of issues institutionally within their system, and it's arguably almost like a cult. So again, I'm not going to go into the Kadampa Meditation Center and the issues, the institutional issues. But ever since leaving, I'm just hesitating and pausing on my Buddhist practice and just thinking about a lot of things. So I still do read Buddhist books. So Pema Chodron she's an American nun and she is an excellent writer when it comes to the Dharma. But yeah, that's why I've sort of put this on pause for now, not abandoned really. This next one is actually my wedding journal. So I know that there are wedding journals that you could buy in bookshops. So there's little tabs there where it says, oh, this is for the gift, this is transport, this is bridal clothing, this is. And the thing is, my fiance and I are quite strange, and that's why we're the perfect match for each other, because there's a lot of things we don't agree with within the wedding industry. We just find it to be wasteful, too much of a cost, just things that don't align with our values. And so, again, we're going to just follow things that feel authentic to us. So, in terms of flowers, like why? His mother is an avid gardener, and so we're going to highlight her succulents and only indigenous plants and things like that. Maybe some of the guests will take away a succulent as well. So again, that's going to be very specific, and so that cuts down on a lot of the planning in terms of bouquets, getting a florist, that kind of thing. In terms of clothing, he's sorted, he's done. In terms of a first dance, that doesn't really feel authentic to us, so we're not going to do that. Bridesmaids as well. I'm not somebody who has a lot of friends, to be honest. So there's certain things that are the normal trappings of a wedding which we're going to abandon. So again, this is just our planning. It's just a random blank notebook, and we filled it with whatever we need to fill it with. This next one here is my career journal. So the jobs that I've applied for, where exactly are they located, what is the salary range for that. I'm applying, so within South Africa, I'm applying to government just because that's what I align with personally. And every Friday, there's I'm really revealing myself here, but public service vacancy circular and the date that it comes out. So I'm just highlighting, okay, I've checked this one, and just going systematically through the job searching process. Again, I don't want to show you too much detail on that, but just as an example, there's OCJ, Office of the Chief Justice, and we have applied. So Pietermaritzburg High Court, this is the closing date, this is the date that you would hear back from them, this is the salary range, that kind of thing. So in 2025, I applied to over 100 jobs, and I just, you know what, it's something that we all have to go through. The job market has been difficult for a while. It's part of the process, and I just try and get as much enjoyment out of it as I can, honestly, because rather than getting too down on it and getting depressed. This next one is just my simple budgeting. So I know that there are apps and there's ways that you can do it, but I'm so lazy. I'd rather just rule the line and just put it in here and dump it there. Then I can look month to month. Oh, okay, this is where the variation in spending was, and that's it. You know what? Maybe later I will move to a more complex system, but my needs currently are very simple. So I just put it on the page, and that's it. I'm done. This next one here is a planner. So I wouldn't say that I'm someone who lives and dies by planners. But look, if it isn't written down, I do tend to forget things because my schedule is often packed and I have a lot of different commitments. I also have a lot of hobbies and interests and work and social obligations and whatever it is. So this journal was actually gifted to me just by one of my cousins. And, here's an example of what it looks like. So in the beginning of the month, what are your goals, priorities? I often leave this blank. If I don't get to it, I don't get to it. I just don't fill this out. This is the days of the month and then each week. So it's not dated. It was a planner that was given to me, but an undated planner. So I just jot down, oh, okay. And this is what I generally tend to fill. I'll fill in my priorities. Don't forget, if I put in some notes of, oh, I did this and with the antenuptial contract and this and this and this, and it kind of goes on to the next week. And then you can rate your week out of 5 stars. I've had a couple 5-star weeks. I've had 3-star weeks. Yeah, nothing was so bad that it was a 1-star week. But yeah, so, and I think it's simple enough of a planner for me. If there's too much going on, I just don't stick to it, to be honest. So, and then the last one, this is what people are most aware of when they talk about journaling and a journaling ecosystem. I just call this my catch-all journal. So that means it catches your stream of consciousness. It catches things that you're reflecting on, things that you're ruminating on. When you use writing to process, that's what this journal is. So this, you'll see, is quite large actually compared to everything else and compared to what you will see a lot of people online doing. So a lot of people go for A4 or B5, I believe is the sizing. And they say, especially if you're just first starting out, don't do a giant journal that you can't fill and then you're going to discourage yourself. This is relatively thick. It's about 288 pages, and it's just Croxley. Like, if you live in South Africa, you'll know it's those hardcover 288 page journals, and they tend to be quite cheap, about 20 rand or so. And the reason why I opted for that is because I write a lot. I really go through journals. So these ones, if I were to use one of these as my catch-all journal, I so to use an example, this I can do in like 2 weeks. This I would finish in like a month if it were my catch-all journal, because stream of consciousness, processing things, things within my past, there's always a lot to write about. And again, just to give you a bit of background, I've been journaling for approximately 20 years. I got my first journal when I was 8 years old, and it was one of those childish things with a little lock and the key, and yeah, and you just journal about your school friends. But ever since then, it's really evolved. So when I was a teenager, I went to therapy, and again, there were a lot of things to process with dissociation, amnesia, these kinds of things. And so I honestly find my journal to be a great place for generating material for fiction, because again, good fiction draws upon people's lives and their specific experiences. Someone as an autistic person, for example, has a specific lens with which they look at the world. Things like stimming and things like the social masking and how exhausting that can be as an autistic person. If you journal about that, then it really helps you later on when you maybe draw upon that experience for your fiction, for example. Again, just to use an example. So, yeah, within here, I just journal, this is what I did within the day. I generally don't tend to do that. I know some people have like an events log kind of journal where they say, I ate this for breakfast, I did this work, and then I went for a walk with my dog or whatever. For me, I don't know that I find any specific interest with that. For me, journaling is more about my internal world as opposed to the external. But again, there's some flashes of memory that are in here. There's a little bit of junk journaling. I haven't really gotten into that. I'm open to it, but no junk journaling per se. It's not necessarily like creative journaling. You see people with these beautiful, beautiful spreads, which again is something that I would love to get into a lot more. Yeah, so therapeutic journaling within here. I put in research about psychology and relational issues and that kind of thing. And I'll just flip to a couple pages and show you the spreads. So here's one example. There's some mind mapping as well. I stuck in my pay slips because I thought that might be interesting to look at in a couple of years, with things like inflation and just the way that things change. I thought it would be fascinating. Sometimes I use things like tables. This was just a spread that I did about a dance studio that I looked at, and yeah, I just thought it's a fantastic dance studio. A lot of the pages are just text, just pure text here. Some pages are highlighted. And yes, so that's my journaling ecosystem. I would really like to get a lot more into things like junk journaling, creative journaling, and sketchbook as well. So art is something that I've loved for a very, very long time, but I've never really incorporated it into my routine in a way I've seen a lot of people do. So you have various painters who work in plein air, you have people who sketch their very mundane day-to-day things, so like their coffee cups, a little corner within their kitchen. And I just think that is fantastic. I think that's something that great artists did back in the day, and maybe at the time it looked mundane. But over time, with historical, again, with the way that the availability of ingredients changes, trade, international import and export changes, food is a very political thing. It's a very important anthropological study. So yeah, I would really love to journal about the more mundane things, not just in writing, but also visually through art. and creative journaling in terms of the collages and spreads and things is something that I would love to do a lot more of, as opposed to just text. But as you can see, I'm quite prolific with text actually within this catch-all journal. So obviously my journaling ecosystem is going to evolve as I evolve as a person. And yeah, I'm just really excited to hear about your process. If you'd like to, yeah, if you got inspired by this video, or if you want to just comment in my comments and say, hey, I also have a journaling ecosystem video, I would love to watch it and I would love to encourage you on that journey. So yeah, I just hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day.